Hello students. I promised you that I would walk you through some examples from the Specialization and Comparative Advantage and Trade that we discussed in class. So we're going to take a look at the 2003 Macroeconomics Free Response question number 3. This is the question that you see before you that you saw from class. And I want to walk you through the steps of how you would answer a question like this. Now this question starts off, as you can see, you take a look at it, assume two countries, equal amounts of resources. Now this is going to tip you off right away that this is going to be an output question, not an input question. Because they're starting you off with identical resources for both countries, and they're varying, as you can see, they're varying the quantities on this, that this is going to be an output question. So what you're looking for when you're trying to come to opportunity cost and comparative advantage is not how many inputs they're putting in to produce a constant output, but how many output they're producing when you have constant inputs. In this case, the constant or equal amounts of resources. Okay. We take a look at this question. Let me get this stuff out of the way so we can start from scratch. We take a look at this question. They're starting you off with the assumptions, and they're showing you both production possibilities frontiers on the same graph. And we're measuring cars and tractors. Every time you make a car, you got to give up a certain amount of tractors, and when you produce a car, you have to give up a certain amount. Tractors. You have to give up a certain amount of cars. So when we're taking a look at this question, let's break it down. Now, what I usually do when I answer any production possibilities question related to specialization and trade, I make myself a handy-dandy chart, and I'm not even going to look at A, B, C, D right now. I'm just going to look at the graph that they give me with the information provided and put it into a handy-dandy chart. Whoa, magically it appears. So we're actually going to start this off by labeling the two countries. We have Atlantis and Xanadu. Now what are we looking for? We're looking at cars. We're looking at tractors. We are going to be worried about the absolute advantage of cars. We're going to be looking at who has the absolute advantage for tractors. We're going to be looking at opportunity cost of making a car and the opportunity cost of making a tractor. And then finally, who has the comparative advantage in cars and who might have the comparative advantage in tractors. Okay, let's go back to the question. We have the numbers right there for us, and it would be a little easier for us if we had both of these screens right in front of us at the same time, which you will when you're doing this. Well, let's take a look. We're going to fill it in. Atlantis can make 30 cars, or it can make 10 tractors. Xanadu can make 20 cars, or it can make 40 tractors. I got this information directly from the graph that you see before you. So let's take a look. The first thing that they may ask for is absolute advantage. You take a look at these numbers. Absolute advantage is very simply which nation can produce more of one good than the other can given the same resources. Well, in this case, who has the absolute advantage of cars? Well, in this case, look at the two numbers, Atlantis and Xanadu. Atlantis can make 10 more cars than Xanadu can with the same resources. They have the absolute advantage in cars. We're going to do the same thing with tractors. Who has the absolute advantage in tractors? Xanadu does, because they can produce 4 times as many tractors as Atlantis can with the same resources. Now the next step in this is to actually identify the opportunity cost, because you need to know opportunity cost in order to determine who has a comparative advantage and whether they should trade. In this case, we're going to look at opportunity cost of one car, OC subscript C. So opportunity cost of a car, in this case for Atlantis. Well, look, Atlantis can make 30 cars, and every time they make 30 cars, they have to give up 10 tractors. Well, how do we put this into single digits? How do we do one car? What's the opportunity cost of one car? Easy thing to remember, it's always going to be the foregone good over the good that you're producing. Okay? So in this case, the foregone, we're going to measure the opportunity cost of one car to fill in our chart. We have to measure this in a foregone good by cost, which is in tractors. So in this case, 10 is the foregone good, tractors, that's what we're giving up, and we are producing cars. Well, 10 over 30, we could simplify this very easily. I'm sure you all figured this out in your early math classes. This is going to give us 10 goes into 10 one time, 10 goes into 30 three times. The opportunity cost to make one car is 1/3 of a tractor. Okay, we're going to apply the same logic and same formula to the opportunity cost for Atlantis to make one tractor. Foregone over good produced. 10 goes into 30 three times. You're right. The opportunity cost of one tractor is 3 cars. Let's do the same thing for Xanadu. Opportunity cost for Xanadu to produce one car. Here are your tractors. Good foregone is 40 over 20. We can simplify this. 40 divided by 20. Obviously, in this case, 20 goes into 42 times. So 2 tractors. Remember, the opportunity cost of cars is always measured in tractors. Okay, we're going to do it again for opportunity cost of tractors for Xanadu. Every time I make a tractor, I got to give up a certain amount of cars. The good foregone is 20. The good produced is 40. 20 goes into 21 time. 20 goes into 42 times. We have 1/2. Opportunity cost of making one tractor for Xanadu is 1/2. They give up 1/2 of a car every time. So you did the hard part really for this question, and the math doesn't get any more complicated than that. The next step is to figure out which of these nations actually has a comparative advantage in producing each good if they do. Comparative advantage just means who has the lowest opportunity cost to make that good. In this case, the comparative advantage to make a car would go to which country? Remember, we're looking at the opportunity cost of cars. Which country has the lower opportunity cost of cars? Well, obviously, 1/3 of a tractor is less than 2 tractors, so Atlantis has the comparative advantage to make cars. What about in tractors? Again, look at it, opportunity cost of tractors. Comparative advantage measures who has the lowest opportunity cost. In this case, it happens to be Xanadu. Wow, look what we have. We have opposing comparative advantages. One country should specialize in producing all cars. The other country, Xanadu, should specialize in producing all tractors. Okay? You have pretty much everything you need in this question, in this chart, to answer the parts of this question. So let's look back. Letter A. Which country has an absolute advantage in production of tractors? Explain how you determined your answer. Who has absolute advantage in tractors? Well, we already answered it. It's Xanadu. Xanadu has it, and the reason why is because they can produce more tractors than Atlantis can with the same resources. Done. Let's go to the next one. B. Which country has a comparative advantage in production of cars? Use the concept of opportunity cost. Explain how you determined your answer. Easy. We already did it. Let's go. Comparative advantage. Who has it in cars? Is that what they ask? Let me go back. Make sure I know what I'm talking about. Yes, in cars, letter B. Well, who has a comparative advantage in cars? We already checked it off. We did it. Atlantis has a comparative advantage in cars. The reason why is because Atlanta can produce cars at a lower cost. Opportunity cost is lower for Atlantis than it is for Xanadu. Okay? Done. We answered that question. C. If the two countries specialize and trade with each other, which country will import cars? Explain why. Well, this is an easy question because the country that's going to import cars is the country that can't produce the cars on their own because their opportunity cost is too high. So the country that's going to import cars is the country that has the highest opportunity cost to make cars. The country that has the highest opportunity cost to make cars is Xanadu. The reason why is because they have a comparative disadvantage in producing cars. They're going to import the cars because Atlantis has the comparative advantage in producing cars. We already figured that out by filling out our chart. Last but not least, here it is, letter D. This is the biggest one of the whole question. It's the most difficult one usually, which has to do with the terms of trade. In this one, they give it to you. If the terms of trade are such that one car can be exchanged for one tractor, so it's 1-to-1, I get a car, you give me a tractor, I give you a tractor, you give me a car, 1 for 1, How will Atlantis benefit from such trade? Well, let's take a look at it. You can answer any question about the terms of trade by simply looking at the nation's opportunity costs. In this case, they're asking you very specifically how Atlantis will benefit in a one-for-one exchange. Well, we know that Atlantis is going to make all cars and no tractors. We also know that Atlantis, in order for them to make a car, they have to give up a third of a tractor. So for them, if they get anything greater than what it costs them to make the good, they're going to benefit from it. So in this case, any one-for-one relationship, no matter what the number is, if it's 200 for 200 or 30 for 30 or 1 for 1, Atlantis is going to benefit from this interaction because they're getting greater than their own opportunity cost to make the good themselves. In this case, Atlantis' opportunity cost to make one car is a third of a tractor. We go back to the question, they're saying, how is Atlantis going to benefit if they get one car can be exchanged for one tractor? They are going to benefit because if they decide to produce cars, which they would because they get a comparative advantage in it, and they get a tractor for it, it's going to be 2/3 greater than the third cost of a tractor it costs them to make the car themselves. They're going to benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. You got 100% on this FRQ, and you got it all from this handy-dandy chart. If you have any questions, talk to me in class, email me, let me know what I can do to help out. I'm not going to go over the other two FRQs that we did in class because I want you to use what you learned from this one to help you work out the other two problems. And remember, when I see you next time, you have an FRQ to do for a grade. Again, let me know how everything works out. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helps. Have a great evening. And remember, the cost of anything in terms of comparative advantage in trade, anything that you're going to do when you're talking about terms of trade, as long as you get the more than what it costs you to make it, the terms of trade, no matter what number it is going to be beneficial to you. Have a great night. I'll talk to you in class.